Hey everyone, we are the Gratitude Girls.
The Gratitude Girls are in the house. Hi, Lori. How are you?
Hi, Catherine. I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm wonderful. It's spring, and this is the month to renew everything. Lori, it's such a great day when we have wonderful people and wonderful stories. 5 minutes before we went live, we get to laugh and talk to each other about things, and we get to exchange, well, not only pleasantries, but really exchange making a connection. And when we produce a show, someone might say, well, what are we going to talk about? Or what is the topic? Or what is the subject matter? We bond, we bond quickly. I don't know, maybe like crazy glue. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And once you bond, you just move together, right? The vibration is there. So I'd like to introduce myself to the audience, and then we'll tell a little bit about our story and why we're here. My name is Catherine Asaro Myers, affectionately known as Rara's in the House. Originally, I'm from New York. I'm broadcasting to you live tonight from Niagara-on-the-Lake, Ontario, Canada, which is our home. And it's beautiful. It's picturesque. We're sitting amongst the vineyards. And I'm here with my amazing partner.
And I am Lori Del Crodecki, and I am outside of Nashville, Tennessee.
Lori, when we talk about gratitude girls, it's sort of a household word for us. We talk about different brands and we call certain things Kleenex. We use the brand names. Gratitude Girls in our life. It's a brand name that we talk about. It's Gratitude Girls Day. It's a Gratitude Girls color. Like we sort of go through the day using Gratitude Girls as a brand reference. And those guests and friends who are watching us for the first time, they may not understand why we're here. So maybe we could tell our story about, our love story about how we met and what we did before we introduce our guest.
Yeah, absolutely. So Catherine and I met on stage in front of thousands of people. So we're both in a company that is a direct sales company called Send Out Cards. And at their national international convention each year, there's always a theme for the year. And then there's someone that wins the award for that theme. And so in 2013, the award was gratitude, or the theme for the year was gratitude. And so in June of that year, our CEO got up on stage and he announces who that winner of that award is. So it's picked by all the peers from all the distributors in the company, plus all the customers. Everybody gets to vote. And Catherine won the award. So I was in the back. I'm the techie one. So I'm like taking video, I'm taking pictures, getting ready. I'm going to throw them on a card, tell her, how great she was for winning and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden that year, and the only time ever since, that he said that there was a tie. And so then he started giving all the attributes and accolades of the next person and ends up calling my name at the end. And so literally Catherine and I met on stage in front of thousands of people.
And Lori, I'll never forget that moment. One thing that you might not mention because you just don't mention it, excuse me, is that you were acknowledged and recognized in our company for giving the most gifts. And when I knew and heard of Lori, I thought I would love to meet this person. And when I met Lori, what do you think she did minutes after she met me? She gave me a gift, which I have today. So very true to you being recognized for that. You are truly a gift giver in addition to a gratitude giver and a gratitude girls. So we made this together. We were destined to meet, and it's over 10 years. Oh gosh, it's 11 years that we're meeting people and listening to gratitude stories. And if you think about 11 years of doing something, when it comes to the 10,000 hour expert, we have the PhD in gratitude. Since then, a lot of people have hopped on the gratitude wagon and they started to talk about it. When we were discussing gratitude, it was really a new thing. People weren't using the term in their conversations. They weren't using it in business. But there are people like Christo explaining that gratitude is absolutely necessary for business, for a successful business. So without any further ado, I think it would be great if we could introduce our guest tonight and hear her riveting stories.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am so excited to have my friend Cindy DeGrie. That's her new name. It was Cindy Rushton, if many of you know her, but now it's Cindy DeGrie. But so we got the chance to actually get together and have lunch a few days ago. But Cindy is a writer, she's a speaker, she's a pastor, she's an actress. She's a life, business, ministry coach. She's an entrepreneur. She's a podcaster. She's like so many things. But the biggest thing, of course, she's loves God. She's God crazy. And she dedicates her life to helping others to become equipped and help them to be empowered to step up into what God has for them. So,
Mm.
Cindy, thank you so much for being on our show.
Ooh, you know what? You just so summed everything about me up. Thank you for letting me be here and letting me be a part of what you guys are doing. Man, I love it. Love it. I'm so full of gratitude.
Well, Cindy, thank you. Thank you for being here. So our audience may know of you because of who you are and what you do, but there might be someone who doesn't know you. So
Mhm.
I'm just wondering if we could, there are so many things that Lori just mentioned, but I'm wondering, is there something that you would like to share about your day today with our audience? It's April 23rd. It's the day after Earth Day. It's spring. What's a pink moon is coming out. I mean, different things are happening. Would you like to give a message from your heart to our audience before we start, as we start talking?
Mm. That is such a great question. Wow, 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 wow. Well, this is such a beautiful time of the year. And, I just like literally this coming Sunday will be 1 month since I just got married to my sweetheart that we call each other the promise that God had for us. And we're so full of gratitude for what God has done because it's totally, if you had told me, 7 months ago that I would be married, I would have laughed and laughed probably like most of my friends, like Lori would testify here. I would never have imagined. But, it's kind of neat that if I were to look at the biggest thing I've learned the last 6 months is to not ever stop believing. Not, there are things that are deep inside of us that we've dreamed of since we were little girls, little boys, and that are just those things that my earliest memories, I remember thinking, who will be my husband? Will I be able to have little children? I played with my baby dolls, wanting to be a mommy. I wanted to be a wife, a mommy. I wanted to love other people. I literally would behave in school, believe it or not, you guys, just for the papers that were left over in school so I could play school and love on all these little kids and be a teacher because I thought teachers were awesome. Funny that I would homeschool like my kids from the beginning to the end. And so lots of the things that, I believed big for, but there have been times where I haven't believed big enough. And somewhere in there, one of the things I feel like that God has been teaching me in particular this year is to dare to believe for the biggest of dreams, dare to keep on dreaming, not settle on things I could just make happen or that I could do as a to-do to get somewhere. I'm about to finish my doctorate. Where I'm right now in the thick of my dissertation. By the end of the summer, it's hard to believe that all these ideas will somehow be in a beautiful little form of a paper that will be finished, and that this whole season of school will be concluding into a doctorate. But that was seriously something that was a dream, but I soon realized that it was a lot of to-dos that I could make happen. What I'm talking about are the things that I think God has to weigh in and move for us to have, and daring to believe that he loves us so much that he is going to move on our behalf. this marriage thing is just so precious to me because now I get to be married to my very, very, very best friend.
Oh,
And
let's
it's
talk about
exciting.
that. Let's talk about
Yeah.
that. That you're lighting up. So there might be someone in the audience who is like, yeah, I'm
Mhm.
not getting married. And you're talking about so many things. I'm going to focus on that for a minute. So maybe
Yeah.
I can ask you a couple of questions. You
Yeah.
said that I don't know this about you, but you said Lori and your friends would say like you weren't going to get married.
Absolutely.
What was the defining moment? So if someone doesn't know what that feels like, what was the defining
Mm,
moment for you where they could maybe find out if it has happened and they ignored it, or
mm,
if it shows up tomorrow that they'll know what it
mm.
is? What was that moment?
Ooh, of knowing he's the guy or
No, yeah.
knowing that I wasn't going to ever get married.
No, that he's the guy, that he's the guy.
Oh, that's a kind of a fun question because, okay, let me go back to me saying I would never get married. Let me just say that because, it takes a lot of, I think, heartbreaks for someone to give up on a dream. I think it takes a lot of your hope kind of being deferred, having to wait and wait and wait. Or maybe you get excited and things just fall all to pieces right in front of you. I think it takes a lot of that to get to the place where I was, but I had literally the week before told one of my very, very, very dear friends that I was called to singleness and that I was never going to date. I was never going to get married. I was just going to be like Corey Ten Boom. I love her writing. She's a great author. She has a book called Tramp for the Lord. And I thought, I am just going to be a tramp for the Lord. And so my friend told me later, because what happened was I did this crazy thing. If people follow me on social media, they're going to be able to know really quick. I write every day. Very rarely do I not post something original on my Facebook or on somewhere on the web, and so I write every day. It's been one of my disciplines for many many years, and this one particular day, I saw several of my single girlfriends. I just love them so much. They're so much fun. Post this one cute, funny little post that said, "Hey, y'all, I'm getting married. Save the date, March 21st." And Lori's shaking her head. She probably remembers this. They were like, it said, "Save the date. Details are coming. All I need is a husband." I think it's the best post ever. So I post it. Well, what we're not telling you is that the day before, he became one of my friends. I hardly ever pay attention to who asks me to be friends. They have to really know a lot of really amazing friends before I'm going to think, wow, that's probably a great person. And I might check it out. And it happened to be that I had just cleaned out my friends list, at the time because of various things. And so he has to be my friend on Facebook, and we were connected to like even Lori, So I'm thinking he's got some good friends. I think he seems familiar. Yeah, we can be friends. And I watched like a little video he did, and I was like, wow, he's an impressive Bible teacher. Okay. So anyway, long story short, he then sees this post go up and he thinks it's funny and he knows I'm joking, but he says, "Well, make it March 28th." And I'm in, or and I'm sitting here going, well, that could be kind of negotiated. And he's like, "Well, don't you think we should meet for coffee or a smoothie first?" And I was thinking, well, that should be the next that sounds like a good next step. And so we're being kind of cute and flirty a little, but I'm not intending to ever date again. Maybe I didn't make it clear. My thing was, I'm called to singleness. I am not going to do this again. And so, about that time, one of my very, very dear friends messages me, the mentor that I talked to just the week before, and said this thing too. She said, "Cindy, that ain't funny." She's because she'd been praying. There are many of my friends. I asked them, I said, "I want to be accountable to you. I want you to ask hard questions to make sure I'm staying the course on everything God's called me to be." And so it's kind of hilarious that she messaged me and she said, "That ain't funny." She said, you are called to purity, but you're not called to singleness. And something did not set well when we talked, because you're not called to singleness. And I'm going to pray for you to have a husband. I'm going to pray him in now. Well, I promise you, bam, that prayer had to be answered immediately before she even typed it up or I read it. And here he's messaging me in the background. And don't I don't even know. There's some things that I could go back in my life and think of the pivotal things where God really moved. Like when I became a writer officially, I started writing for my local paper. It was doing something I don't normally do. And my grandmother had been reading some of my articles and said, "You need to take these to the paper. I keep sharing all of mine with everybody, and I'm afraid I'm not going to get them back for my little Cindy notebook." And I didn't ask questions. I just did what she said, and I went and took them to the paper.
Mhm.
That was one of many different instances where I've done things that you kind of go, I don't normally do this. And this was one of those. So we're messaging back and forth. And I tell him that I don't date, that I'm getting my doctorate. That's enough to run any guy away, right? But he's like, "What's your phone number?" And so we had this conversation that literally changes my life. And I didn't even know it at the time. But I'm sitting there and he's talking about the very words that I use for ministries. He was writing a book on rest, which was interesting because I've written in a lot of my books about rest in Jesus and do yoking up with him to homeschool your kids, or getting back to God's design and different things. And he's talking, he says the exact phrase, getting back to God's design. And I'm thinking, huh, interesting. And he says some things I'm thinking, oh, that's so good. I pull out my post-it notes and take notes talking to him. And I'm going, wow. Now, what everybody needs to know is I've given God this huge list by this time in my life going, I'm not even going to consider it unless I know it's of God, unless the person wows me, unless the person makes me really want a lot more of God. They don't distract me from my calling. They don't distract me from my relationship with God. They love family. I mean, I had this list. It was absolutely impossible, except for Larry DeGrie. Literally checked it off, all of it. And I'm sitting there going, what? So he asked me on my first date. We didn't call it a date because I told him I wasn't dating, but he said, "Well, you can fellowship, right? You got to eat anyway, don't you?" And the rest is history. I just look at it, and we have had so much fun, so much fun. He catches my breath every time I speak to him, holds my hand. I feel it all throughout my entire being. It's just a beautiful relationship. And most of all, I think every morning I look forward to waking up and sharing time, just finding out what God's given him. And so it's a lot of fun. And then we minister together. We do all kinds of fun things together.
Oh, thank you. I know Lori probably has a couple of questions for you. Thank you for sharing that, Cindy.
Yes, so I do know all those things, and thank you for sharing them with everyone because that is so cool. And especially, of course, my story too, and the same thing, getting married
Yes.
in 4 months, and so we're so close. But when you know that God's got the part of it. But this is, of course, the Gratitude Girl show, and I know you've just said several things that you're grateful and thankful for. But I also just want to say, and we all have, a million things to be grateful and thankful for, right? But if there's any other story that you could think of that you just want to share with the world, tell us what
Mhm.
that story would be really quick.
Ooh, that's so good. Hmm. I do have a huge list because I love what you do here with the show because there's something powerful about not looking at what we don't have, but looking at what we do have and really having gratitude for it. Because, once upon a time, that was just a dream
Mhm.
and we live it. So I think of all the things, it's kind of a funny thing, but I would have to go back to that. after I had a divorce back 10 years ago, and one of my friends, she's one of our mutual friends, Michelle Moore. She and I had coffee one day because she woke up and said the Lord had given her just a word for me that he'd given her the title of one of my next books. Now, let me pause. I've written a few books in my years. I've written thousands of articles, 156 books, and I'm sitting there kind of puzzled, like, why would God wake a friend of mine up at 4 in the morning to give a book title? And so she wanted to meet me for lunch, and it happened to be a day I was opening at work and closing, so I had a 2-hour window. And we met for lunch, and she was about to jump out of her skin. It was a moment I will never forget because I'm like, what? It was confusing me. And she said that the book was called Finding Me. And I was like, no way. I said, why would he tell you this? And she said, because you would never do it unless you had some friend tell you, yes, this is it. And as I thought that, I could literally hear the Lord drop into my heart the subtitle of Lessons for the Lost Person. So my answer to your question comes from that. It's kind of fun. I remember at that moment really spending the next 2 days really hearing God and going, wow, God, this is kind of where I'm at, isn't it? I remember sitting on that couch um, after 30 years of my life, 30 years. And sitting there going, I don't even know who I am. My website said I was the wife of my best friend. I was mom to Matt to and mom to Elizabeth. I was Mimi to the grandbabies. I was a writer. I was a this and I was a that. And those things were all wonderful. I love that I get to be able to live out the dreams. I get to step in and do all the things I love, love, love to do. But the one thing I did not know that day was who I was and why I was here. And it's kind of funny. My dissertation right now is on the topic of getting back to God's design for Christian womanhood. And it's examining and defining the purpose, the identity, the relationships, the mission and ministry of the 21st century Christian woman. And I think it was kind of sweet how last year media has given me like all the data I could ever ask for. The world is crying out saying, what was I made for? Look at the Barbie movie. All time, one of the highest grossing films of all time. And you have people that are dressing in pink and shiny pink and going with their grandmas and their great grandmas and their grandchildren and going to see this movie. And I cried, you guys. I cried for hours that day over the one question is, what was I made for? It was a really powerful question. And so I am grateful that right now I've gotten the last 10 years of my life. I've got to sit and soak in that question and really say, okay, who am I? What am I that is by how I'm designed, the way I am designed from the very creation of this world, the purpose, the plan, my identity, something that can't be changed because of a change in marital status or because the kids leave home, the demands change and that changes what I'm here for or my value or the relationships that what am I more than the relationships that come, they go, they deepen, they fall apart or whatever that might look like. What about for the mission, the ministry? What is it that I am really here for? And I have to say my greatest gratitude is being able to sit back and just know how precious I am and that God had a great plan for me long before I even existed, that everything is pulled together. And people like you guys are even positioned at specific times of my life at just there for you to fulfill your calling, your identity, who you are in my life to where we can all do the things that we are called to do and we're here for. I love that we're getting to talk gratitude because to me, there could be nothing more to have more gratitude for than who we are as a person, as a woman, or as a man, if there's men listening in.
Yes.
But but to get a hold of that you have an amazing purpose. That's wow to me. Your identity is not something that can be changed by circumstances. It doesn't shake when trials come. It isn't more valuable. You're not more valuable because people see it or because you have accomplishments you think are valuable. You, whatever you live in, whatever you own, it doesn't set your value, it doesn't set your purpose. You are so incredibly powerful and so incredibly called to something amazing. So I'm kind of I have just so much gratitude for getting it, because the results of me not getting it were me really getting into places where I didn't take good care of myself, where I didn't believe in myself, where I was shaking and not knowing what to do, what steps to take. And I'm not saying that I'm immune to those things. I think that that is some of that stuff we come alongside of each other for. You know what I mean? Reminding us of who we are, reminding us of why we're here, reminding us, hey, you really have a gift here, or you really make a difference here. That's the stuff that I'm just so grateful. I'm grateful for people like Lori that I've been blessed to know through the years who you believed in me. You believed in me when I didn't believe in me. So it's pretty powerful.
That's a great compliment. Cindy, you said so many things that I'm processing like a quick hard drive here so that I could, absorb them. One of the things that we like to do in our show is we like to hand the mic over to you. And we
Mm,
like to have you ask us a question, unrehearsed, of course.
sure.
So feel free to ask us individual, the same question, different questions. Just let us know who you're directing the question to first, and we'll both answer whatever you choose to ask us.
Wow, wow, wow. What if we start with you? We're talking about, say, who you are and finding yourself. Have you ever been in one of those places yourself where you gone, who am I? What am I here for? Tell me your story.
So I'll answer the first part of the question was if I ever found myself in that position. So the answer is yes, I have. And I'll answer it with a glib, incomplete story.
Oh, I love it.
I have been married 5 times, 3 times to the same man who is my husband and my soulmate. To find in my life a way to be divorced for 16 and a half years and remarry each other has been something that's so hard to put into words, especially in just a few minutes.
Yeah.
But I understand that not only is gratitude important, but forgiving ourselves
Mm.
and forgiveness is the glue that truly holds us together. Thank you for asking that question. And
Ooh,
I appreciate it. There's a big story behind that.
I love that. And that is very beautiful. Wow. And I want to hear more of that story soon. And what about you, Lori?
Yeah, so yeah, mine for that situation is kind of similar to yours of several years ago when Brian passed away, my husband of 20 years, my kid's dad, and that was it. I was always Brian's wife or Laurel's mom, McLean's mom, Corinne's mom, Mason's mom.
Mm,
And so even though I had several businesses, very successful businesses, and had all the followers on social media and all that stuff, I still just at that time, it just was like because it was a car wreck and so it wasn't planned and it was just one of those things that kind of started hitting me of okay, who am I? Like,
wow.
who really is Lori? Like, I have all these hats I wear,
Yeah, that's a
but
good way.
who am I? And so, yeah, so really over the next several years, I really started delving into, who I was. And it was incredible how my business started good. Those little emojis. I always forget about those. But how my business started growing and like literally exponentially to where I remember I even went to my pastor and said, I feel guilty. Like, how am I having all this success and crazy success?
Mm.
And, but like, is it because my husband's gone? Like, I don't want that. I'd rather give away the success and get him back. Right. Like,
Mm.
I didn't understand it and I was hurting and um I guess trying to find like I was happy for the success, right? But then on the same note, I was also feeling guilty and and that's where he came through and just said, no, God's blessing you for your due diligence and your faithfulness and
Mm.
but so it was just really a different time, but in an exciting, but also weird, but also wonderful, like all the emotions all in one.
Wow, that's so good. But I'm still hearing the same, I mean, parallel. That I think that there's going to be those moments. We're going to have those somewhere in our journey where we have to come to that place because I think it takes us to the next level, the next space. Larry and I've talked about this a lot where of me in particular having to learn how to accept the love of God so that then I could love others even greater than ever. And there's that place. I mean, I didn't really love myself. I didn't know myself. And so it was a nice season of getting to know me.
Mhm.
So in saying that, do I get to ask another question?
Oh, if you would like
Taking
to,
it.
if you would like to, yeah, go right ahead. Thank you.
Okay. So maybe even taking turns again, like what do you feel like was your biggest lesson coming out of those times? Like what do you know about you that you didn't maybe know before?
You want to go first, Lori?
um for me, I think is just a lot of that was it. I really got to know me and I got to find out what I liked, what I loved, which anybody that knows me is a lot pink, like you mentioned,
Love it.
all the Barbie stuff. But
That's
but
awesome.
still just a lot of getting to know me and going through those steps and also just allowing, God to fulfill a lot of the things that he had planned for me that I
Mhm.
didn't realize, but it was also because I started to actually take that time rather than being always, so busy and on the go and all that stuff. Actually started taking the time to allow God to tell me, what he had for me and allowing just me to realize who I was and and like I said, what I liked, what I loved, and my passions, not just my kids or my husband's or whatever.
Wow. That's priceless. Those are good. To me, those are the things that I wish I'd known before. And I'm grateful that I've kind of gotten to know those. I feel like I'm on a journey still. There's that adventure of really getting to know me, and it's an unpacking the things that you love, things that are just you. You know, so that's beautiful. I love it. Okay.
Yeah, I'll answer your question. So, and then we'll ask you a few more questions. So just so
Sure.
I can give you a different perspective. When you talk about the question of like, what did we learn? I learned that I have a huge capacity for pain. And I learned that I could camouflage that pain in the form of caring for others. And I learned
Woo.
that I could remove the pain from myself or numb myself from pain while I'm doing something for someone being of service. And I could, in fact, keep myself at bay from the truth of
Mm.
where I was really at by making sure that I was being in and of service to someone else. And I learned that the capacity I have is so great that I need to keep a check on that.
Whoa. Hey, that's another whole show. That's
Yeah,
an-
that's another whole show. Thank you. Thank you for that question. I really
Woo.
appreciate it. And, we like to give the mic over to our guests and certainly to you, Cindy, so that we could have this show with an interaction and unrehearsed, truly vibrational with what we are seeing and feeling at the moment, because we're making that, I think of crazy glue, right? We're making that connection right here on the spot. And this relationship as it builds today in front of us, it's not an accident, it's not a coincidence, it's part of our lives. And like you say, it's a plan that's here. So anything that anyone was doing today, if they happen to land on this show tonight or they land on it in a replay, hopefully they will get the feeling that we're exchanging with one another, and based on your questions, what we get to share about ourselves. So I really appreciate that. Lori, if somebody's watching the show and they're thinking, I want to be Cindy, I want to be Lori, I want to be Rara, I want to be Cindy, I want to be on the show. How does that work? Could we share a little bit with our audience, and then we'll wrap back around to Cindy. So Cindy, hang out a few minutes. Well, how does somebody do that with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So go to facebook.com/gratitude girls. Make sure to watch our shows there, like the page, add it to your interests, and then send us a message there and tell us your gratitude story and what you would like to share with the world, just like Cindy has today.
Yeah, thank you so much. And if someone is thinking about, well, I'm a little shy and I don't think I want to talk about how I feel, you'll be very surprised that regardless of the lights and the camera and the action, it's just us hanging out.
Yeah.
It's us having a conversation. If you take it exactly for what it is, making a Gratitude Girls connection, know that your message and your voice will show up. I have a radio voice tonight. So you'll pardon and enjoy the radio voice at the same time. And Cindy, what really showed up for me tonight with you is that you're so open to sharing, that it really puts like another dimension to our conversation, because you're willing, maybe because you know Lori or you feel it. Is there something that you'd like to say to our audience about the experience of being on the Gratitude Girls show?
Hmm. You know, this is a lot. I think that this is nice because it is woman to woman, friend to friend. And so, yeah, those who might feel a little shy, you have a story. You have a story. Everybody has a story. And, y- I think it's easy for me to take for granted my story and think, oh, well, is anybody going to be interested in this? However, I just want to encourage those of you who maybe your story, I'm sitting here and going, wow, to Rara's second answer. I mean, really, that makes my heart start going a lot of directions, and I'm having to reel it back in. But that's what it's like when it is woman to woman, friend to friend. I think that's powerful. I'm glad to be a part of it.
Oh, thank you so much. This show will live forever, of course. And our audience, they want to connect with you. We have all the show notes. We have all the contacts. I don't know if we can read all the books that you wrote, but we're thrilled to. Let me ask you one quick question before we go. For someone who's looking to write a book, and we're very proud to say that we have a Gratitude Girls Journal, and we hope that you could participate with that and add that to your repertoire. Is there something about writing 100 and how many books?
156 so far.
Okay, so you're up to 156 books. Is there
Mhm.
something that you'd like to share to the person who has the author in them?
Ooh, now that's a sweet topic. Um, just for the record, I've got so many things that have kind of been put on hold the last 10 years that I'm about to bust. I mean, I can feel it right now. And so for the person that is sitting there and you maybe have written as many, or maybe you've never written one, there's something that's in you that needs to be shared. I believe we all have that thing. And I believe, in my words, I believe anybody can be a writer. You may need a coach, and hey, that's what some of us do. We come alongside of people and we help them become great writers. And so I do want to encourage you not to not not to not to put that off. Maybe this is that year. One of the things that meant the most to me, talking about my grandmother, she, I remember saying, just kind of taking it to her, and I'm glad it was her. And she was a cheerleading kind of a grandma. But I remember saying, "Do you really think I could write a book?" You know what I mean? And she said, "Well, goodness, you could just take these articles and about 14, 15 of them, you've got a whole book." And it just gave me this vision. It was like, wow, you know? So in other words, I could write a book in a couple weeks, right? You know what I mean? Because that's about how prolific I tend to be. But, it was just getting that vision that I could take my ideas and pour them out. I kind of see myself like I'm having a cup of tea with a friend when I'm writing, sitting there over a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, and I'm pouring out the things that are on my heart, kind of like we're doing right now, right? And and so at that point, I think everybody's got something they could share over tea. And maybe if you're not sure, let's chat. Let's get some time. I'm here for I offer coaching still. You can
Mm.
go to the cindyrushton.com, still book an hour of coaching with me. But also if you're in Nashville, goodness, have if you have coffee, I will meet you, kind of thing. But seriously, this is the year. Don't put that off. If you're not sure about your idea, get someone alongside of you who can believe in you, can help your words come out of your heart and get onto the paper, because you never know who is waiting on that message. And I'm going to be, I don't know who is listening. I don't know your stuff, but I can pretty much from experience tell you somebody's waiting on your message.
Mm.
It's time.
What a great note to, I don't want to end the show at all, but what a great note to wrap up on. Cindy, hang out with us. We want to talk to you a little bit more offline. Cindy, thank you so much for being here. Lori, wow, I don't even know where the time goes. Like, I just lost complete concept of time, just in the flow, paying attention, listening to Cindy and imagining all the things that she's saying. So thank you for bringing us on that beautiful trip to looking inward and following you on your journey with your beautiful voice. Thank you so much. Very, very impactful. So, Lori, should we say until next month that,
Yes, until next month. So we are here the fourth Tuesday night of every single month for over 11 years. So make sure to tune in, make sure to like and follow us. You can see all the past shows at gratitudegirls.com. You can also see all the show notes for Cindy. Look her up, connect with her on social media. Make sure to follow her on all her channels, and we will see y'all next month.
thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks, Cindy. Appreciate you being here.
You.